if you're following my blog or looking in my blog already, great. If you're not, please have a look at my blog and hunt me down on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. And if you've got any questions afterwards, I've got my email address there, so you've got all my contact details. So what we're going to have a look at is customer workspace versus the alternatives, kind of a high level overview. And then what I'm going to do is dive into a demo and show you a few things. So app options that I mentioned, we've got the customer service hub that we've had for a long time. We've got Omnichannel for customer service. We've got unified service desk, and now we've got customer service workspace. So we're starting to get loads of different options. So which is the right option to use in the right scenario, and that's what I want to kind of explore. So first of all, customer service customer service hub. This, for most people, when we're talking about working with cases or any of the customer service entities, it's your go-to app. It's where you normally would start off, and a lot of the times this is what we're implementing. It is completely fine, works really well. I guess it's born out of what we used to have called the Interactive Service Hub, which if anybody tried to use the Interactive Service Hub, they probably know that wasn't a great app. But Customer Service Hub works fine, it's nice and fast, it's easy to customize, it does what it says on the tin, and it works well. Now, it can also be extended with channel integration framework. So if you need to start building integrations in with, say, web chat or telephony products and things, you can use the channel integration framework with it. And a panel could open up at the side, and then you could have third-party controls or whatever you might develop that goes into the channel integration framework to support the conversations. But that's all one conversation at once, so it only goes so far. So if you've got an agent that's actually juggling lots of incoming calls from lots of different customers, they might struggle with that. Now that's where our second app comes into play, and that's Omnichannel for customer service. So if you've not used Omnichannel for customer service, Omnichannel is all about defining different channels, be that web chat, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, whatever. And it's got a tailored interface that gives us a conversation panel where we can chat with our customer, or potentially have a voice integration in that space as well. And then we've got things like agent scripts, knowledge base integration, smart assistants and such like that come up in this right-hand panel, which we call the productivity pane, that really helps with the agent experience. The other thing that's important with Omnichannel is we get a concept of sessions. So a session being a group of tabs or tables that we're looking at that relate to one conversation. And if we're holding multiple conversations with the customer simultaneously, we can swap from session to session really quickly. So that's where Omnichannel becomes really important for that scenario. Now we've also got Unified Service Desk, and to some extent it's filling the same kind of gap that Omnichannel for customer service is. It's aimed at contact centres. Omnichannel has been around, Unified Service Desk has been around for a long time now, and in some respects it's getting dated, for want of a way of describing it. But the advantage of Unified Service Desk is it's a full-blown configuration framework where we can build very customized interfaces that do exactly what we want. And that can be very useful in large enterprise scale contact centers. So it does have a place for large scale implementations where we need a lot of automations or integrations with other systems. So that brings us to the new kid on the block, Customer Service Workspace. So immediately, I hope you'll see it's got a very similar interface to Omnichannel, and we'll see this in action. And in fact, pretty much everything we can do in Omnichannel, we can do in Customer Service Workspace. The only thing is the conversation panel, as I'll try and show you in the demo, is actually optional. We don't have to have that popping up. So we can use Customer Service Workspace without having any requirements for web chat or Facebook Messenger or telephony integration. So that opens up some other scenarios available to us, ones that we might have traditionally done with Customer Service Workspace, Customer Service Hub, sorry. There's too many names for these. So this is the can we have our cake and eat it. So let's look at each of these apps. So Customer Service Hub, that's great. It's quick to deploy, it's simple to use. You get what you can get it up and running really quickly out of the box and then customize it. But it has some limitations when you start scaling up to more complex business scenarios. Omnichannel handles some of those scenarios, particularly the communication ones, but you do have to pay extra for your Omnichannel license. So, you know, there's a cost implication there. USD does come with the customer service enterprise license, and it gives you ultimate flexibility to build the interface in any way that you like. But realistically, it's hard work, and if you're not going to do an enterprise level, really large implementation, it's probably overkill. So Customer Service Workspace, does this give our cake and eat it? So it's quick to deploy, it's simple to use, you get no extra license cost if you don't actually need the omnichannels, and it is highly configurable. We've even now got an API, and I'll try and show you some of that in a second. Now that API is available to me through a private preview at the moment, but Microsoft have given me the go-ahead to show it today, but it should be available very, very soon. I think it's pretty much ready, is my understanding. But I'll show you a kind of, hopefully, a bit of a sneak peek at the API and how we can use code to extend Customer Service Workspace. So for my future projects, could I replace the Omnichannel app? Yes, I could do that quite happily now. I'd probably implement Customer Service Workspace over Omnichannel now today. And in fact, there's a customer I'm working with at the moment that will do exactly that. So because everything we can do in the Omnichannel app, we can do in Customer Service Workspace. So you might as well use it. Is USD redundant? Often, I think the answer to that is now becoming yes, because we've got an API with Customer Service Workspace, and because the product that Dynamics 365 has moved on with PCF controls and embedded Canvas apps and varying other things, actually a lot of what we might have had to do in USD in the past, we can now do with the app. There might be a couple of exceptions to that in terms of some client-side integrations and stuff, but it's becoming more and more niche, the requirements, I believe, for USD, in my opinion. Is this a successor to Customer Service Hub? You know, if we can use it without an additional license, why not just use it from the get-go? And I think that's quite a serious kind of option to start and think about. So I'm working with a customer that's going to be a customer service and field service implementation at the moment. And we are actually considering using Customer Service Workspace right from the get-go. And we're doing that because they might have in the future some requirements to bring channels in and to do web chat and such like. And if we start using it now, then that's just a natural extension for the users. It's not a big jump into a different interface, and everything we're developing will work fine with the new setup that we're going to do. So I'm going to dive into a demo and show some stuff. Now that I've put a couple of links up there, you can note them down now or quickly grab the screen. I've got a question slide at the end if you want to use those. So basically these two links are blog posts that I've done, the bottom two links, that relate to some of the things that I'm going to show you in the demo I've got. I do want to do a third blog post about the API, but I'm just waiting for the kind of authority to do that, because it is a private preview that I'm working with, so I just need to check that out. But that should be available soon. So keep checking out my blog if you want to kind of see more on this. So let's try a demo. So many windows. Right. I assume that you might not have used Customer Service Workspace, so I'm going to quickly show you it in action. Now, the first thing is this is it, and I go in on this default dashboard that's giving me a list of cases. Now, obviously, I could tailor this, and I could go in on any dashboard I like and any view. So you put here whatever's relevant to you. Now, I'm going to open this case here. Now, that's opened a session for me. Now, a bit of automation's happened. So notice I've opened the case and automatically the account record is opened. And I'll show you how I've done that with a no-code customization in a second. We've also got this productivity pane on the side, and this is where we might have agent scripts and knowledge base integration things. So an agent script to explain them can be as simple as just telling the agent what to say, but it could be we're going to run a macro, and by clicking here, it would run a macro to create yet another new case and things like that. So we can build automations that we can insert into the interface. And these work quite nicely as kind of things that supplement what we might already have with our business process flows to kind of use the two concepts. Now, I've opened one case, and just to show you the idea, if I click on another case, or actually at the box, what I have to do is press Shift and click to open a new session, and then that opens a session. And then if I want to open another tab, so let's go to this customer record when it opens. If I want to open a new tab, I can go here, and if I want to open this account record as well, I'd press Control and click. Now, actually, I've run something, I'll quickly show you this in a second, that simplified my navigation, and I don't have to press Shift click or Control click anymore. Notice now I've got two sessions down here on the side. So what I've got is the first session where I opened that case and that account, and the second session where I've got this case open and this contact and this account all at the same time. Now, this is really useful if you're an agent and you're juggling working on multiple things at once and want to swap backwards and forwards. Rather than having loads and loads of browser tabs open and getting lost, you can do it with sessions. Now, something else that I've built, and I'll show you how I've done this in a second, is you can see that I can't close this session down. And that's because I've put a little bit of code in that said, well, once an agent has opened a case, I want them to do something with that case. I want them to change the status of it to move it forward. So I can't actually close this case without changing its status. So I'd have to go, say, to on hold or resolve it or whatever. And now I get the option to close it. So I'm forcing the agents to actually action something on the case. And I've done that with a little bit of code customization to show the kind of thing that we might want to be able to implement with the code and this API that they've got. Now, simplified navigation, to do that, to actually enable that, it's a one-off process that I don't think can be reversed, by the way. So if you try this simplified navigation, you want to go back to the other one, the other style where you have to press Shift click and Control click. I'm not sure you can reverse it. So you want to test this out in a sandbox and decide whether it's right for you or not. So to do this, all you do is you press F12, you go into the console, and you paste a bit of code in, run that code, and then run a command that actually enables it. And once you've done that as a one-off task, that's it, it's enabled. Now, that process I describe in this blog post, which is in one of the links that I've given you. So this goes through how you open the console, and the code that you do, Microsoft have got it published on this link here. So if you go here, this would give you a code snippet that you'd paste into your console. And once you've run that, you decide, is it Customer Service Workspace or is it Omnichannel or everything? And you'd run one of those commands, and that's it. Your simplified navigation is enabled. So it's a one-off process. So it's worth just having a look at that, because once you've done that, using the customer service workspace becomes, in my opinion, a lot more intuitive for users because they're just clicking things and they're just opening. The other thing that's nice about this simplified interface, you can see I've already got this customer open. Now, if I press Control and click, it's going to try and open another tab. But if I click here, it already knows I've got that customer open. It's just changing focus to it. So I'm not going to get a crazy amount of tabs open because it's doing that navigation for me. So there's a lot of little niceties in this simplified navigation. So it's worth giving it a go if you've not looked at it. Now, we've got this concept of app profile, and I wanted to discuss that because it might be that some of your agents do web chat, for example, and some don't. So some handle some channels, some handle others, or maybe some agents need one version of the case form and or one way of opening sessions and the things that they might do, and other agents need other things. And maybe some agents have some agent scripts and some other agents have other agent scripts. Now, what actually happens is when I go into my app, you can see here I've got customer service workspace in the make.powerapps.com. If you do ... here, I get this app profile manager. And when I click that, it loads the app profile manager, which is this. Now, whenever you go into customer service workspace, if you haven't got an app assigned to you, you're going to get the default. So it will work without having app profiles. But as I'll show you in a second, I think app profiles are the way to go because you can solutionize them and it makes it easy to migrate the way your sessions are configured from one instance to another. So I definitely recommend you start looking at app profiles. So you can see here I've created a custom app profile. So I've just said new profile and given it a name, and I'll just go into this. Now it's in here that I can then start to say, what will my session templates look like? And I'll show you this one in a second. I can also do things like turning the productivity pane off and on. And if I want Omnichannel active or not, I can enable Omnichannel because I could just use customer service workspace without enabling that. If we have a look at this session, I've got this case session. So if I just open that up, just to show you the idea, and this is all described in the second one of those two blog posts that I showed you. In here, we define the way the session's going to look. So what I've said is it's a custom case session. It's linked to an entity. So whenever I open a case, this session is what's going to happen. Now you can see here in the title, make this a bit bigger. I don't know if that's really working very well. In this title, I've got anchor.ticket number. Anchor refers to the first tab that gets opened in the session, and then you put dot and whatever the field name is. So this is going to name my sessions with the ticket number of the case rather than the title. So you can see here I've put the case number when I was opening my sessions. So I've customized that to do that. Where was that? Here. I've also got that communication panel. Well, I'm not using Omnichannel, so it's hidden. Now, other things I can do is define which agent scripts are going to kick in. So this is, I could tailor which agent scripts there are, and I could also add in additional tabs. So if you remember, when I started a session, a second tab opens with the customer in it, and I do that by adding an additional tab. And if we just open this record, we'll see that all I do is I define an additional tab. This time I haven't given it a title, so it would just take the customer's name and put that in as the default. It's a dynamics entity record that I want to open. Now, I'll come back to this in a second. If I do that, I then pass in from the anchor tab the customer ID, and that's come from the case. So who's the customer for this case? And what type of entity is it, or type of table? So is it a contact or an account? Because it could be either in a customer field. And again, the details that you put in here are in this blog post that I've given. So by doing that, it always opens my customer record alongside my case record. Now, what you can do with different page types, so you could open web resources or dashboards or views and other things. So you could just open a web resource and put a bit of JavaScript in there and start doing all sorts of things. So you could tailor what opens, and you're doing all this with a no-code approach. So that's the app profile. I just wanted to mention solutions. So you can see here I've created a solution, just called it Neil's Customer Service Workspace. Now there's loads of stuff in here in the end. All I did was I went in here, created the solution, and I went in and said add the app profile, and somewhere down here, Neil's Custom App Profile got added to my solution. I was then quite lazy and I just started saying add required components, and it started adding some of these others in for me. But I think if you start looking through this, you can see the agent scripts that I was using, the custom case session templates added in and things like that. So all of the components that are part of that session get added into my solution. So then obviously I can now export that and import that into another instance if I want to. So that's solutions. I wanted to wrap this up by showing you a little bit of code, and I apologize, I'm not really a developer, so all the developers that are on the call, I apologize for the quality of my code in advance. I've added a form into a solution, which is the case multi-session experience form. So it's just a model driven app, and this is just the form that comes up in that app. And then on the form, I've added a JavaScript library in it. And if we have a look at that JavaScript library, it looks like this. I've just got this in a slightly bigger format, so I'll just drag this on to make it easier for you to see. So in this JavaScript, all I'm doing is using this command here. Now, basically, this is the API that Microsoft is going to publish. I know the JavaScript police will be saying you shouldn't use in window.top. I don't think that's going to be necessary when this goes to a final release. That's because it's a private preview that I'm working on. But basically, I'm creating an object, which is the session that we've currently got in focus. And then I've got varying properties and methods that I'm going to be able to use on this. So I've used this one called can close and just set it to false or true. And that's giving me, if you remember on the session, the users could either close the session or not, depending on the status. So I've just grabbed the status on the case and said, well, if it's in progress, you can't close it, otherwise you can. So I have to change it from the in progress status to be able to close my session. But there are going to be quite a few other methods in there. So there's create tab, focus, closing the session down. There's also this other object here. Oh, I shouldn't highlight that. That says get focus tab, and then we can close and refresh and set the title or whatever in an individual tab within the session that we're on. So I haven't explored all the different parts of the API yet, and being early days, I'm not sure all of it is available and working, but we'll have that very soon. But I'm hoping you can see that the API gives us a way to extend the functionality of Customer Service Workspace from a code point of view. So this is why I'm starting to think, because I can solutionize my session templates and stuff now, and because I can extend it with code, and because it's all included in the license and isn't extra to the Customer Service Hub, this is why I'm sort of suggesting that this is becoming a very viable kind of interface that we ought to be seriously looking at. So I'm conscious I've thrown in loads of stuff really quickly, and I can't see the chat. So has anybody got any questions at all? And whilst we're doing questions, those links I had up on the screen earlier on, I've put up there again, and my contact details as well.
So we have questions, Bill.
Yep.
How would the agent search for an account?
So if you're in, let me try and show you. When I created, you can see I did an entity record that popped up. I could do a search screen. So you could, rather than popping up the case, you could pop up a search screen, and then whatever comes up in the tab, you can associate with it. If you've used Omnichannel, that default behavior is to start a chat, and we search for the customer, so the contact or the account that we're working with, and then we start creating cases from there. And the agent scripts that we create can reference that. So the agent script might then create a case for that account or contact that we've then opened. So it didn't quite work with my scenario because I'm opening an existing case, and a case always has to have the account or the customer on it already. But there are scenarios, you're quite right, where you wouldn't have that. And if you look at the way Omnichannel works for, say, web chat, but I might have it, I can show it on a slide, then it's on there. So if I go backwards in my slides, see here I'm on Omnichannel, and I've got a new conversation. I could search for the customer there, or I could just load the search control and search with that. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. I've got another question from Larry. How does Workspace interact with queues?
The same way as anything else in Dynamics. So you'd have to, if you saw my Workspace, I've got this home and I've said my active cases. If I wanted to work with queues, I'd just replace this view here with my queued cases, or whatever queue you want to work on, and however you want to do it. So you just put the queues you want to work with onto the dashboard, and away you go. Now you've also got Omnichannel concepts. So that's standard Dynamics queues. We can have conversation queues with Omnichannel where they'd pop up and give you an alert, and all of that capability that we use with Omnichannel to route conversations and entities to particular agents that are available. We can use all of that functionality, but as soon as you start using that functionality, you're going to need an Omnichannel license.
Cool. Thanks, Neil.
Neil, just one quick question. Hi, it's Emma. I think, I don't know if I missed it, but in the file tabs that you can open, can you set any entity in that config? So,
yes.
For instance, bespoke entities, you can create your own entities and set them there.
Yeah, so I say entity record. Oh, hang on, sorry. If I go back, see, it's entity case. I've got any entity.
Brilliant. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
If you don't have a session template defined and somebody clicks on an entity, it's just going to load that record into a tab in a session, but you're not going to then get any customization around what tabs you've got and what agent scripts you've got. But it will still load. It's not that it's not going to load it. Just anything else? But shall I try that? If I just click on a customer, I haven't got a session template for a customer, but it's just going to load a customer, and it's just giving me, no agent script or anything. It's just loaded the customer in a tab. So it would work. I've just got no configuration around it. Anything else, or have I exhausted all the questions?
It looks good, Neil. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I like it. I'm going to start using it for my kind of go-to interface and see how we get on with it.
Neil, there's another one. Sorry, can you share the links again? Which links do you need?
Yeah, if I can find my slides. Stop my presentation. No. There. But if you just go to my blog, then the blog posts off my blog, or I put a couple of short links up there that would help you go to them as well.
Okay. Well, there you have Neil Parker's session. Okay. So obviously Neil isn't with us today. He's actually on holiday. So he was. Just typing his blog correctly for you all. Apologize. I've misspelt his blog. I apologize. 1 second.